And I would like to invite and introduce Mr. Richard Wall. Mr. Richard Wall is the Chief Technology Officer at Apex. He is the, Mr. Wall's leadership is in over 20 years actually in multiple product development over multiple corporations, various sectors, he played multiple executive roles and corporate roles across various sectors. Mr. Wall has also designed and managed the development of several critical business enterprise applications, as well as as a result has established himself as a highly accomplished industry visionary and strategist, resolving issues in operations, IT challenges for clients, and producing successful results as well. So we have Mr. Wall, and this presentation is going to be jointly delivered by Mr. Theo Jones as well. Mr. Theo Jones is the Chief Legal Officer. He is a creative and innovative problem solver who is passionate about law, technology, and business. Mr. Jones is a competent and professional Commonwealth Caribbean attorney at law, excited by the opportunities of applying modern cutting-edge technologies to legal systems and other industries generally. They'll be both presenting and representing the Caribbean Agency for Justice and Solutions, speaking on the Apex Court Management System. And I'm very pleased to welcome my very good friends as well, Theo and Richard. So over to you.
All right, thank you, Junior. And good morning, everyone. Like Junior said, my name is Richard Wall, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Apex. Let me first take the opportunity to thank the CTO and the Secretary General, Mr. Rodney Taylor, for the opportunity. We have a strategic partnership with the CTO from the very inception of Apex, and a long-standing partnership that goes way back. So really grateful and appreciative of the opportunity. Today we'll be going over a bit of Apex and the pioneering technology solutions that we've developed in the justice sector space. With me is my colleague, Theo Jones, an attorney at law, and also our Chief Legal Officer. Theo will guide us through the first part of the presentation, and then I will return to cover the technology solutions. So let me hand it over to Theo.
Thanks, Richard, and good morning to everyone. Thanks also, Junior. It's wonderful to be part of this morning's forum. And so, as you can see on our screens, we're talking about technology-enabled excellence in the Caribbean justice sector. And this is a topic near and dear to the heart of Apex. Of course, you may be aware that Apex exists specifically as the nonprofit agency to procure and develop, actually more develop in-house, the justice solutions that are necessary and relevant to the 21st century justice sector in the Commonwealth Caribbean in particular. And specifically, its mandate is to develop the technologies that we need, the technologies and solutions that we need to the several challenges that we have, and just generally to make sure that the justice sector in the region remains relevant to where our societies are advancing. Of course, people today are more informed, more connected generally in all spheres of their life, and the justice sector obviously has to be responsive and adapted to that. Of course, Apex as a regional entity, and as you can see on the screen, it was established by the Caribbean Court of Justice, which of course is our model court in the region. The Caribbean Court of Justice, as you may know, has two jurisdictions. It has an appellate jurisdiction for 4 jurisdictions in the Commonwealth Caribbean right now. But more importantly, it has an original jurisdiction created by the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and it basically acts as the de facto apex court for the implementation and exercise of various CARICOM rights created by that treaty. And so part of Apex's remit is to facilitate whole sector capacity building as part of the mandate by the CCJ itself. And of course, Apex is helping to modernize and to strengthen the justice sector. Thanks, Richard. So in terms of its context, the context for the establishment of Apex, of course, we recognize, and I don't think anyone would be unaware of this, there's an urgent need for relevant and integrated justice solutions that allow our administration of justice regionally to be adaptive to the needs of our societies. From a legal standpoint, you would know that the judiciary in most countries represents the third independent and one of the third independent and most important pillars of the state. And as such, a responsive justice sector is critical. There is a high demand for access to justice. Our societies are more litigious than ever. And so there is a need to rise to the occasion to meet the demands of society. And certainly the public, attorneys, regular citizens expect to be able to interact with courts in modern ways. You know, we do so much things online. We are engaging globally constantly because of the internet. And so some aspect of that reality must be brought to bear on the justice sector regionally. And so Apex facilitates this primarily by ensuring that the need for greater productivity, cost savings, accountability in the sector is improved, and generally that for all participants, there is improved access and interaction. So we can advance. Thanks, Richard. So in terms of our mission, as stated, it is to improve access to justice, improve accountability, particularly with the implementation of modern technologies that allow us to track and actually see at a more granular level what is actually happening in the different court systems around the region. It provides, our mission is to provide a range of high quality solutions and services to courts, litigants, lawyers, and the public generally. And we do this through connections like the connections we have in the CTU. And as we are interacting today, we see that we have a vibrant community. So we do that through local, regional, and international collaboration and the development of technology that is indigenous to the region. And several speakers would have highlighted the importance of having an indigenous technology sector. We are able to accomplish these goals by essentially developing a homegrown regional core of competence that allows us to hit our mandate. So in terms of our membership and our support regionally, you can see that we have not just support from the countries of the Commonwealth Caribbean, and particularly that make up CARICOM, but within those countries, we have strategic connections with heads of judiciaries, chief justices, presidents of courts of appeal, the heads of specialized courts, and even junior courts like magistrates courts, the legal community in terms of the legal academic community, both the private and the public bar. And of course, we drill down even into the more seen and visible aspects of the administration of justice in terms of police departments and prison services. So we have wide regional support. And of course, that starts with our connection, our core connection to the Caribbean Court of Justice. And our guiding principle, of course, is that our solutions must be relevant to our regional environment, right? And that has been stressed today by several presenters and in our interactions. You know, we cannot, and we do not want to be importing solutions when we have so much competence residing here in the region to solve our own problems. And we believe that once we continue to facilitate the type of live and regular collaboration that we have, that this forum highlights and that we have generally, we will be able to come up with the ideas and the solutions to solve our problems locally and regionally. So that's a critical objective for Apex, that we are collectively pooling our talents together to solve our own problems. And I think next, Richard, you're going to take this part.
Yes, thank you, Theo. So in this section, we're going to be looking at addressing the justice service delivery. This is specifically looking at the Apex pioneering technology solutions. One of the main things at the core of our development ethos is how we went about building the software solutions. Particularly, we took time to design and architecture a solution that meets Caribbean needs. We're very familiar with the uneven network infrastructures that would be experienced here in the Caribbean. And so great efforts were put into ensuring that the solution is able to run on these infrastructure, run with the bandwidth unevenness that we see sometimes with the solution, and also the ability to scale. In the Caribbean, things happen, particularly during the pandemic. We saw a significant increase in the need for technology to manage access, to manage information. In the case of the justice sector, we had hearings being done completely online. Judges, for the first time, were hearing cases using the technology platforms. Actually, nobody was showing up in courtrooms. So these factors were taken into account. We took diligence to build with world-class development standards. And like Theo mentioned, we also look to Caribbean nationals. There's a significant amount of talent here in the region that we tapped into. And during the pandemic, we saw how that became important. They were locally available and accessible, and our dependencies weren't on international talent that sometimes might not have been accessible in the case of the pandemic. So that's very important to us. We were regionally first in court automation in a number of areas. For instance, in the CCJ, the first electronic filing and case management deployment. For the Bahamas, a first fully digital industrial tribunal. Interestingly, the tribunal started using the systems before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, they were fully online and operational, handling all their hearings online. They were able to record their court session using our Captura Smart Court solution. And in some ways, they were not affected by the pandemic. So we see here the importance of the technology and how important it is for the court processes. In St. Kitts and Nevis, first automated workflow in an AG office. St. Vincent, first e-filing in a DPP's office. And for Trinidad and Tobago, first fully automated dispute resolution management system as an alternative dispute management solution. So we're pioneering the initiatives inside the justice sector in these spaces. What we found is the justice sector, definitely like Theo mentioned, there is a great need for this technology, for the ability to be able to work inside of an environment using current methods and tools to be able to deliver justice on time and efficiently. And that was a significant need that we saw when we came into this space. Just to talk about some of the, give you an insight into some of the software solutions that we've created. Our flagship enterprise solution is the Courier Suite. And this is a cloud-based court management suite. Again, here, a decision was made on what platform this should be built on, and particularly in the Caribbean, and now we're seeing significant benefit to it. We have both an on-premise solution, but also a cloud-based solution. And the cloud allows for immediate implementation, almost real time. In one case, we had a court that implemented e-filing within 2 weeks. they needed to do it very quickly because of the pandemic. So the cloud-based platform that allowed us to implement very quickly, and also the burden on the court to have extensive infrastructure was removed with this solution, or even looking for talent to be able to manage a network like that. The court did not have to worry about those things. Our AGIS product is a cloud-based court information management system for AG offices. Resolve is our dispute resolution system, and that manages, it's an alternative to court solutions, but it fits within the justice sector, allowing individuals to be able to resolve matters using the Apex Resolve system. And Captura is a product that we've seen a significant amount of use in terms of court recording and digital transcription systems for courtrooms. This particularly played a significant role during the pandemic because of the ability to have hearings without having to show up at the courtroom. And so the countries that we work with were able to move forward by using the technology to be able to execute their hearings. Some of our core applications within the Courier Suite is the efilin platform. This, I would say, is a significant technology. When we built this technology, I first sat at the CCJ and was able to observe how long it took to e-file a document that came in, and that document came in via email. The user had to have a certificate on a USB on a computer so that they can stamp that document and file it. And usually it will take them anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to do that. We automated the entire process, and so now it takes seconds for the user to be able to do that. They would be able to receive that document in the e-filing portal versus via email or Dropbox or some kind of shared drive. And with the click of a button, all the steps that they were taking, paginating, putting a certificate on the document, was done with one click. So in a couple of seconds, we were able to reduce the time that they were taking, 5 to 10 minutes to file documents. We also have the case management system, which covers particularly the court registry in managing the life cycle of the case, Sightlines or performance management system, and Captura for our real-time court processing. There are other products that we have as well to support the general operations within the courts. And so, for instance, the alerts and digital notifications. So we've built within the technology the ability to receive SMS messaging so that attorneys, practitioners can all be able to be notified about issues concerning their cases. That's one of the things that we saw within the courts, is that sometimes the delays were simply because of communication. A message didn't get to the attorney, or the message didn't get to the registry. So we've been looking specifically at those needs and kind of closing the gap by introducing these technology solutions specifically designed around what the issues are in the Caribbean. We've also found that sometimes the solutions that come from outside the Caribbean doesn't quite cater for Caribbean needs and Caribbean issues. And so having a base here in the Caribbean and being able to build for the Caribbean, we've seen how that benefited judges, registrars, attorney generals, how that became beneficial to them in utilizing the systems. So here you'll see different systems like alerts, the digital court signage system, or docket. As simple like having a directory to be able to manage the court contacts, the attorney registry, and things like that were very important to the court. And calendaring is also became a significant part of the need that we saw for tracking conflicts within calendars. Sometimes that became a major issue. And so these solutions all helped in increasing the efficiency in the court. At the core of this is, even though we're talking about technology, at the heart of Apex we were driven by justice for all and making sure that justice is delivered in time. We saw a need there, and we knew that technology would be able to fulfill that need. And so we built specifically with that in mind, building on the platform of international best practices, being able to handle the issues of scalability for the court so that they don't have to take that on, having systems that are responsive so that the court doesn't have to think about multiple mediums or different vendors or solutions that they have to take on because they need a mobile solution or they need a tablet solutions. All of that was factored into that. Planning and catering for the increasing threats that we see are taking place around us. That is a big issue for the court as well. And we took a lot of time in working with chief justices, judges, attorneys, registrars, sitting with them and working through the process. We've seen at times that different jurisdictions might have different practice directions. And so we built the system to be able to deal with that. So at this time, we'll take some questions at the end, but I'll turn it back over to Theo to close us off.
Okay, thanks, Richard. So as you've seen, we've done quite a bit of work so far, but it's not done. We believe that this is still the cause we're fighting for in terms of ensuring that we have these systems implemented across the region for the purpose of truly advancing the cause of greater inclusion and accessibility to justice systems. And as you've seen demonstrated, we have particularly cloud-based applications, but we've also rolled out on-premise options. We ensure that there's robust security and that we adopt generally a standard-based approach in our development practices. So in terms of the need, now there's great need, but the greatness of the need is not by itself sufficient. We still have the issues of backlogged courts that need to be addressed. We have frustrated litigants. We have inefficient and outdated and outmoded systems that need to be done away with. And Apex exists at the crossroads of really a fundamental shift in how we've traditionally viewed in the region, the justice sector. We need to shift certainly cultural mindsets that are not congruent to developing a system that is responsive to the needs of the citizenry across our region. And that's something that I believe one of the presenters particularly spoke about earlier in this gathering. We certainly need to realize that we have the talent, we have the capacity, as Richard demonstrated, as you saw earlier. And so we are no longer in a place where we just want to take, in air quotes, handouts from development agencies regarding foreign solutions that, as Richard talked about, are not ideally suited to the context and the realities of the region that we ourselves know best. And certainly we want to ensure that any semblance of self-interest is done away with so that regional best interests can emerge. And certainly Apex is a regional effort. The Apex court is a regional court. And so we are pioneering a regional approach in the development of justice solutions and in the ethos of Apex itself, in how we approach new ways to consider and new ways to approach the administration of justice in the region. So that is our mantra. We have the means to ensure that we keep resources in the region as well in terms of developing our own technical solutions. We have the clear competence and capacity to ensure that our solutions are tailored to our needs. And certainly we are already seeing, and as Richard demonstrated, there are clear benefits as the pandemic has demonstrated. by shutting down literally our court systems, how these approaches that we've taken, how the investments that Apex has made thus far and will continue to make in the future, because we're definitely not done with this work, will continue to advance the case and the cause of justice inclusion for all participants in the sector. Yes, so just to wrap up, Apex's approach has always been a whole sector developmental approach, and that's been recognized globally. Jurists from across the world in the United States, UK, Africa, and even as far as the Far East have recognized that Apex is a model agency for bringing 21st century thinking and solutions to how we approach this important critical third pillar of society in societies where we, of course, recognize and respect the rule of law. And so our primary measure of success then has to be to see that we tangibly improve the overall quality of justice delivery in the Commonwealth Caribbean. That's core. And that must be felt by all aspects of our society. It cannot just be that it is felt at the level of the judiciary in terms of judges, but not litigants. Litigants must, and we talked about accountability earlier, litigants must be able to have a sense that matters are progressing with dispatch and that all aspects of the system are working in their favor. And generally, we know that we have stronger societies when we have accountability, especially in the justice system. People have confidence that systems are working to create the societies that we want to live in. And so that's it. Thank you very much for listening to us. And we're ready to hear your questions and comments. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Theo and Richard, for excellent presentation, quite comprehensive. I don't have anything to add other than to just raise a question that was posted by one of our online participants. And the question is, what does the development roadmap look like for Apex, for the Apex organization across the Caribbean? So the question is asking, is there a roadmap? What does it look like? So I'm seeing Richard.
Yeah. So yes, we do have a development roadmap within the justice sector. The needs are actually extremely large. What you saw us present in terms of the court solutions, there are other solutions in our roadmap that we have that include support for things like juror management and child support and things like that. So there are other things like that. We also have key relationships into the police sector as well, where we are partnering to have solutions that could integrate with the court solutions. The court and the police sector actually work hand in hand. So we have quite a bit of technology integration in the roadmap to allow us to now use the system that we have, but integrate with other sectors that collaborate very closely with the court. So those would be some of the things that we have on the roadmap.
Yeah, I like that. And from the presentation, I recognize that Apex is essentially a robust platform that does provide, in and of itself, capacity for various use cases outside of the court system itself. Other file management, that can be used in ministries for different purposes. So I just want to get a sense from you, Richard or Theo, what other use cases that you see in the future or in the pipeline or even now exist that you can, that Apex would probably be also useful, a useful tool to be adopted, within this space.
So Richard, if I can just take that,
Yep.
And I actually see a comment here in terms of private attorneys and how they'll be catered to from Daniel Knight. And I think, traditionally when we thought about the justice sector, we thought just about court systems. But we also know that there's been the proliferation of alternative dispute resolution approaches, certainly to reduce some of the backlog in the court system. And as Richard can share in terms of on the more technical side, that's something that Apex has been looking at quite a bit and investing a lot of energy and effort into as well. How do we create systems that go beyond the traditional courtroom context? And we believe that that is something that further expands the scope for justice delivery, because every matter certainly doesn't need to follow the traditional contentious system that the court system is traditionally founded on. And by creating technological platforms and systems that recognize and follow the stages of development of a matter that goes through an ADR process, an alternative dispute resolution process, instead of the traditional litigation process, Apex is also particularly tailoring itself to deal with some of the queries or some of the relevant matters for private attorneys. And there are many other things, technology is required in registries where, lawyers, of course, and the general public have to engage registering documents, these kind of things. So, we perhaps are at just the cusp of what is possible with the kind of focused and committed approach that Apex has committed itself to. And I should add, sorry, Junior, we've already seen this particularly in investments made with labor tribunals and specialized courts. If we reference the example in the Bahamas, we've had a very good and successful implementation in the Bahamas in their industrial court, which is, beyond the traditional Supreme Court structure that would exist, kind of at the national level. So there are several areas for the implementation of the types of systems that Apex has invested heavily into.
Yes, and thanks for that response. And there's also a follow-up question from Daniel Knight in the chat here, and he's asking, how can you comment on private attorneys and how they would be catered to? Similarly, how would you envision this being extended to civil matters or even arbitration?
Right, so we've touched on that in terms of the technology is there and adapted already, and it's already in use when it comes to arbitration and even tribunals. The things like employment rights tribunals and labor tribunals are not quite the traditional court system, and actually relieve pressure on that. In terms of the, just to use the example of the Bahamas again, not only was there the successful implementation of an e-filing system for case management, but also, we did a lot of pioneering work in terms of the design of the courtroom. So we've made the courtroom experience a lot more intuitive and comfortable for attorneys and for court staff because we've adopted a technology-first mindset. Apex is often going into environments where there have not been where there's not traditionally been a heavy investment in technologies to make even the systems and the processes work better. So, that's been key. Another thing has been the adoption of a customer service first and customer service centric approach, that, the technology must be intuitive and must be one that invites the user, invites Caribbean jurists to want to use it, to want to engage. And so that's something that Apex has pioneered, in the region generally, in the various contexts. If we think about the CCJ, and Richard talked about this earlier, it was a transformation, certainly, for the CCJ when they switched from their old email-based e-filing system to the Apex Curia system. And speaking as an attorney in Barbados, the CCJ certainly is our apex court in terms of our appellate jurisdiction. Many attorneys for many years in Barbados have marveled at what a significant improvement that has facilitated. At one point, it facilitated next day hearings in urgent matters that just could not have been possible without the Curia platform. So I hope that kind of, gives a kind of a fulsome view of the kind of technologies and how it has had a tangible impact thus far and on what we hope for the future.
Okay, thanks very much. That's very comprehensive. I see we have Donovan Smith from Impact. When you have a question.
Yeah, just a quick question. I just want to know how would Apex bridge the gap between attorneys who are not that technological savvy to accept this this new forward-thinking approach?
I could start, Theo, you could probably jump in. So when we design and architecture the system, Donovan, we actually planned for exactly that. When we looked at the Caribbean need, and this is why I said Caribbean solutions, when we build with Caribbean in mind and we take what the issues are in the Caribbean, it transforms what you produce as a solution. And so those were issues that came up. There are some older attorneys that doesn't use emails. And so we built with that in mind. Some of the things, for instance, that we would have done, we have a kiosk version of the software that would allow for an attorney or a litigant or anybody interfacing with the technology to be able to show up at the court and be helped by a court registry staff member to actually introduce them to the technology. So there are things that we've catered for. The kiosks, there's tablet views that we've created. The system transforms into a button-like user design or user interface so that you can use it on a tablet and things like that. But the kiosk would be one of the main ways we would have catered for those types of users.
Yeah, certainly. And just in terms of even getting users, au fait from the beginning, when they're at the beginning of their journey, we've in 2022 particularly, we'll be working in conjunction with law schools in the region to pioneer the use of these technologies even at the beginning of the legal journey. So that's another way in which we are able to bridge the digital divide by creating at the cusp, at the very beginning, of the journey, because many lawyers may not consider themselves to be technically savvy. This is the technology of the future that you need to be, adaptive to and responsive to, just like you are responsive to legal principles and theories. And that's a critical aspect of our mission. Apex also certainly operates a region-wide mentorship program as well. That is designed to further ingratiate relevant stakeholders, lawyers, and other persons into what is this new approach. So we've thought long and hard how to make the onboarding of users who are less technically savvy more comfortable at all levels and stages of their development. Richard mentioned the kiosks, but a very simple thing that could perhaps be omitted is that all of our products have very comprehensive documentation provided with them. So there, in the actual interface itself, there is a always present icon that is just one click away, one tap away on a tablet that shows you a full breakdown of all the features and all the various workflows that you can use when you're logged into the system. So, I don't want to go too long, but I think that covers it pretty comprehensively in terms of what we've done at that to address non-technical users.
Yes, I think that's very comprehensive, and I would add, I'm aware that Apex also has a number of videos designed, customized, online, available for use as well. And they are in fact very useful to the clients as well. I'm aware of that. So based on feedback, certainly aware of that too. So that's excellent. So thanks a lot, Theo and Richard. Excellent presentation. Very good interaction, and we